Something I do in almost all of my collage graphics is replace the model's clothing with some kind of cool texture overlay like paper, plastic, bubble wrap. So this is an in-depth tutorial how I make these collage graphics step by step in real time in Photoshop. So we are just going to jump right in. I always have the instructions in the pink over here in case you get bored and you just want a screenshot, that's totally fine. As you can see, I'm using the curvature pen tool to trace out my subject. And there are a lot of ways you can select a subject. There is no wrong way. It really just depends on your preference. I personally like the curved pen tool because it really does give you the most accurate selection down to the last pixels. If you're a perfectionist like me, then you'll love it. So we'll do that and we'll hit right click, make selection. Make sure the feather radius is 0 so that you have a really solid edge. So after you've made your selection and you see the dotted lines, you'll hit Command J to copy your selection onto a new layer. Then I want to isolate the sweater onto its own layer, and so I will hold the command button down and click the layer and then make some adjustments with the lasso tool before hitting Command J to copy the sweater onto its own layer. And order is very important. So you can see I have the sweater on the top, the model in the middle, and then the original photo on the bottom, which we will delete after color sampling it and using the paint bucket tool to fill it with that same color. So now that we have our layers set up, it's time to do the fun part. We're gonna pull in the folded paper texture, hit right click, create clipping mask, and then we're gonna change the blend mode to overlay. Of course, it's artist choice at the end. I really encourage you to experiment and see what you like. And I'm adding some cute little butterfly PNGs from my library. I highly, highly suggest that you build out your library as you go because it will make your workflow so much faster and so much easier. I'm changing the blend mode to vivid light, and then I'm adding some noise to the background before we keep going. Now we're going to add a drop shadow by hitting the command button and clicking on the girl before adding a layer underneath her and filling in that selection with black. Then we'll apply a light Gaussian blur. Then you will select the shadow with the move tool and hold the shift button down to slightly distort it. Again, artist choice. Lower the opacity a little bit. That is super important because that's what makes it look like a shadow. Once everything looks good, I will flatten the image and then finish it off with a curves adjustment layer. Now this is totally personal preference, but with collages, you're putting together a lot of different images with a lot of different editing styles. And so I think adding like a couple of universal edits to your final image at the end before exporting really just ties everything together. So you can see here that I'm adding some noise at the very end, shifting the lighting a little bit, just really pulling the whole thing together. I think when you make really subtle but intentional edits, it makes a really, really big impact. Don't forget to sign your work before you export, and now we have this awesome collage poster graphic. Thank you guys so much for watching and following along. I hope this was as helpful as I intended it to be, and if you like what you see, you know what to do. I'll see you guys next time.